All right, let's get more reaction now. And we are joined by Eyewitness News Editor-in-Chief, Mrs. Nisa Allie. Nisa, good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time and condolences. I know that this is an incredibly difficult time for yourself and your team, but perhaps just talk to us about just the initial reaction from the team hearing of Tshidi's passing.
Naledi, I hate the fact that we're having this conversation tonight. To say that we are gutted is an understatement. When Tshidi was hospitalized 2 weeks ago, one of her colleagues and friends said, one of the things we really hate about this industry is because we spend so much time at work that our colleagues become our friends. And the Eyewitness News team today has lost the jewel in our crown. We've lost a sister. We've lost a confidant. We've lost a colleague. We've lost a friend. At 42 years old, Tshidi had so much to keep this country still. And I don't think any of us are at a point yet of considering all of those things. All I know tonight, Naledi, is as my friend and as her editor-in-chief, she would do whatever was necessary. I'm sitting here tonight to honor her and to live up to that legacy, to do for her what she had done for us.
Yeah, and we appreciate it, Nisa. I know this is incredibly difficult. You know, I want to think about just, I think upon hearing of her passing, one of the things that came to mind was what an incredibly powerful year Tshidi Madia had. And not just within our country, but beyond our borders, and perhaps something you can reflect on that can make you smile a little bit about, my goodness, what beauty she leaves us with in the legacy of her work. I think about the trip to the US when Ramaphosa was in the Oval Office there with Donald Trump, and Tshidi Madia being called by international media as well to bring the perspective of South African journalists on the table, and just making South Africans so proud in that particular moment. Go back to that and really what you remember about that moment.
So I mentioned on air earlier that many years ago, I heard Tshidi's voice. I heard her ask a question at a press conference. Had no sight of her, did not know who this person was, but immediately I was like, who is this? Like, this is the one question in this press conference that needed to be asked. And I was so privileged to be able to share space with her over the past 3 years. Many people are reflecting on that US trip, on her presence, on that interview that went viral. We got to experience the phenomenal human being, journalist, the professional every single day. She poured her heart and soul into everything she did. When I say humility, we went through the election last year, and on the very last day, I burst out crying. I was like, we did it. And she's like, no, I'm not ready for this yet. We can reflect at another time. And that summed up what Tshidi represented to us. When I say she was our rock, as an editor, you want to be surrounded by people who are critical, who ask. She didn't only ask politicians the tough questions. She asked everybody in her space the tough questions. Last year, we formed a politics team under Tshidi Madia. Alpha Ramashwana, Tabiso Goba, Lindsay Dentlinger, and Babalo Ndenze. I mentioned their names because that was Tsidi's team. What she did with that team, every Monday morning they would have a politics meeting, the banter they would share, the way in which she would mentor them. She would take them to go and meet sources. She would look over their scripts. They would laugh and they had their own sort of internal humor. And other journalists in the newsroom would constantly go, "Can I please be politics adjacent?" But Alpha and Tabiso, particularly with Tsidi's boys, she loved them. And she was so proud of the journalists that they were becoming and the journalists that they are. And I would often sit with her and say to her, "Do you recognize that in your very existence, all of this, you live the fact that this is greater than you? Whatever concerns or insecurities or stresses she was facing, she recognized that." And I would never tire of telling her how amazing she was, how I respected her, and how I loved her. I reflect tonight, Naledi,
Yeah.
on every late conversation we had, and how we would look at everything critically together. With Tshidi in my presence, in our presence, we could take on the world. The stats were reflective of the impact she made. I would sit and I would watch a State of the Nation address. And at the point that Tshidi would come on air, I would see those numbers climb. The day that the president made the announcements on the establishments of the police inquiry, Tshidi had traveled straight from Mpumalanga, attending Didi Mabuza's funeral, to the studio to come and do her country duty. And there are no words that can describe her legacy in one interview.
Yeah.
There are no words that can describe the impact that she has made on so many people. I want to especially give my utmost thanks and send my love to her family. It was something that we shared, we spoke about often. I said earlier that Tshidi worked hard and she loved even harder. To the Madia family, thank you. She was the product of her genetics, the product of her parents, the product of her upbringing. Thank you for sharing her with us.
Yeah. Nisa, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for speaking to us and reflecting on someone who has touched so many in our industry. I think about how many young journalists I've seen today talk about how she reached out to them to encourage them, even when they had never met. And I must admit that I too was fortunate to receive one of those messages from her as well of encouragement. And that legacy does certainly live on. Nisa Allie, Editor-in-Chief of Eyewitness News, the team that continues, of course, to grieve after today hearing of the passing of Tshidi Madia.